Welcome back to the program. Now, the Singapore Garden Festival is back with another exciting event that promises to be a feast for the senses.
A favourite highlight among visitors is the landscape and fantasy gardens, where world-class designers will unveil their latest horticultural creations.
I know, just say fantasy and it transports you to a different world. Well, today we have two of the Gold Award-winning designers, Jim Fogarty and John Tan, and also head judge Michael Edward Belson, who will share with us what goes into the making of breathtaking gardens. Very good morning, to all
guys.
of you.
Good morning. Good morning.
So let's start with you, Jim. So what was your entry for this competition, your inspiration behind your garden?
Well, I've done a garden based on the Daintree rainforest, which is a pristine environment in northern Australia. And it's to sort of appeal to the Y generation and encourage them to appreciate and nurture and protect our rainforests. So it's quite a contemporary garden, but it's got a lot of planting in it. And it's got a sculpture, a water feature that's based on rainforest lianas, which have been chopped, and they're bleeding the water back into the pond. And what we've done, we've got the youth of Singapore to write messages on pebbles, and we've put these pebbles into the water feature. So,
that's a nice touch.
A lot of the youth of Singapore actually got ownership of this garden too, which is really good.
I mean, we've got some shots on screen right now. I mean, is this your dream garden? I mean, we say fantasy in that sense, you know.
Well, this is actually in the landscape section of the show, but I mean, I think the great thing about the show being indoors is that there's really good lighting and effects in all the gardens, so you can actually get a lot of inspiration of how you can transform your garden at home into something a little bit more unique.
Well, John, let's talk about your garden. You are the Best of Show winner in the landscape category, and it's called the Treehouse. I like that. It's kind of nostalgic feel to it.
Yeah, basically, I just wanted to blend the old kampong style planting and landscape, but blend it with something, a modern contemporary house where all of us could relate to at this present time. As it is, there's a bar there, you can relax. On top there's a sunbed, you can just chill out. So
fish.
Oh yeah, fish. He caught one of my catfish in my pond.
You can fish from that.
I've got catfish inside there.
Of course, the old just to help our viewers understand, the old kampong is the village, little village, old style village. You know.
So I have you know, the landscape is large. I have this two-story building there. We got the bar downstairs fully stocked. He pinched one of my beers away. And the tree house on top, we have the bird nest. I have bird nest.
There's a
hanging.
Wow.
I can imagine.
That's a fish. That's a fish.
Brings back old memories for old folks like us, perhaps, maybe.
Well, kids all love tree houses. You want to play in a tree house?
Yeah.
So basically, I just want to make sure that it's meant for everyone. It's not just
very cozy and friendly.
Just as long as at home.
Well, maybe you can shed light, Michael, on, because you were the head judge, and I'm sure you had a tough time looking at all the different beautiful gardens. What were you exactly looking for when you were grading them?
Well, there's a lot of things that we're looking for. First of all, we get a brief from the designers about what they're actually trying to do, and then we look very carefully to see whether or not they achieve what they're trying to do. And amongst those things will be the question of the layout, the overall impact of the garden, of the way it's designed, the plant quality, the way it's constructed, and generally whether or not we think it's going to appeal to both gardeners, expert gardeners, and the public alike.
Is it usually a hit or a miss?
No, generally it's sort of somewhere in between.
Okay.
Sometimes there are some very, very good ones, and indeed, at the moment in the festival, the quality is extremely high.
I guess the thing is, you can probably tell. I mean, when you walk into a space, you get a certain feeling from it right away.
Up to a point, but we mustn't jump to conclusions, because sometimes there are lots of hidden messages.
What do you mean by hidden messages? So should the garden be more than just what you see and what you...
Well, I think so, yes. I mean, you could look at a garden as just being a collection of plants, but also, I mean, as we've just heard, there are themes within the garden about, let's say, the conservation of the rainforest. There were two gardens in the show doing just that, which are very important functions for our age.
When we talk about gardens, I mean, for you, Jim, what are the most important factors for you besides the aesthetics, of course, when you're designing your, your idea of a fantasy garden? I'm sure you have to take into account the environment you're in, the circumstances of the situation.
I mean, I quite like gardens to be usable too, and I mean, certainly in Australia we use them for entertaining, and it's sort of part of our lifestyle. So I think it's important to have a place in the garden where you can actually interact and socialise, and have friends or have a party, have drinks parties, or to even eat dinner outside and things like that. So gardening and designing gardens, is about making them enjoyable and fun as well.
I mean, I think that's most important, but you guys get upset sometimes because you're the creative mind behind it. Some guy goes into your space and just says, hey, I just like that, what is this theme? I don't know, does it matter? I mean, do people need to understand the theme, understand the bigger picture? Can they just go in there and say, it's comfortable, I like that green tree, and yeah, it's great to have a beer?
Well, I think, for me, designing for clients, it's about investment in property as well. So smart and savvy clients will realise that if you spend money on a garden, when you go to sell that property, you actually make a lot of money out of it. So, and that's where designers come into play. Having good design is actually an investment, and people can make a lot of money out of it.
What about here in Singapore, John? Maybe you can share with us some tips, because we've got, small, tight spaces. Not many of us have gardens in our homes per se.
No, well, for Singapore, to be frank, most of our local designers, it's a challenge to have a small place, but it's fun, but you can create it. I've done it before, to understand first the lifestyle of the family and the people. So to be part of them, and I try to create a place where the family can get together, family stay together, and it's more a family-oriented design. And when they bring their guests over, they feel at home. Right. And I've been doing that for quite a number of years, and I've really been enjoying it as being part of the family and to relate myself in the design for them.
Is that also what you're trying to achieve, Michael? I know you have a farm back in England, and we've got some pictures which we're going to show our viewers. Maybe you can give us, some details about it.
I'm just waiting for the pictures. Are they sheep and cows, or are they?
Is that it? We got it on screen right now.
You describe your
garden. It was a
farm,
and it's now actually part of a garden, and it is somewhere where I experiment with plants to find out what plants go well together, and it's a very important part of my business.
What do you mean by what plants go well together?
Well, how they look together. I mean, it's an aesthetic thing, but also to some extent, I'm trying out various not only combinations, but maybe different vegetables or mixing up vegetables and plants. I mean, all sorts of things happen there. Trying out trees, and of course, one of those that's a sort of problem which is a very long-term problem, and I've been lucky enough to live there for about nearly 30 years. So I've seen how trees have grown in that particular part of England. And it's very rewarding.
Okay, this is your playground, so to speak.
Yeah,
you can test out. Well, just lastly, as we wrap up, I mean, would you guys like to share perhaps some of the common mistakes that people make when it comes to gardening? Any tips you can have? Or?
No, I always find that if it's what you leave out of the garden that makes a good garden. It's having discipline. I mean, people always put too many things, too much colour into gardens. So having restraint, I think, is a good thing to do.
John?
What's important is the theme that it got to go with the house itself. So don't do it until that the garden stands out and the house is left behind. So it has to be one for that matter. So I work closely with theme and concept for the client, and that is easier to play with, and the plant selections.
Okay, well, great. Thanks a lot for coming in and sharing with us, guys, this morning. And I believe patience is the other thing, because I've tried, sometimes you grow it and you come back the next day and nothing's happened. You just 2 days later, nothing's happened yet,
Michael, 30 years. 30, get some insight into this.
This fast-paced society, we want instant tree, instant everything,
That's why we need gardens. It's just take a step back and slow down for a little bit. Well, our guests this morning, Gold Award-winning landscape designers Jim Fogarty and also John Tan, and head judge at the Singapore Garden Festival, Michael Belson, talking to us about what goes into a dream garden. Thanks, guys, for coming in this morning.
Well, the Singapore Garden Festival, where all their works are at show, it opens today, actually, till the 22nd of July at Suntec Convention Centre in Singapore. If you'd like more details, do visit the website on screen. That's SingaporeGardenFestival.com.
It really is a festival, I say, not to be missed. It really transports you into a different world.
Yeah, you can. From one corner is one world to another corner is another world. So it's pretty nifty. Well, on that note, we will wrap up Primetime Morning for this Thursday, the 15th of July. But we're back tomorrow, in fact, with more gardening.
That's right. We're going to talk about community gardens, I suppose, and how to make it happen. So for more tips, you want to tune into Friday's show of Primetime Morning. And of course, we've been also talking about the importance of Mandarin. So there's a Mandarin campaign going on in Singapore. We're going to tell you a bit more about that as well. Yeah, we'll all struggle with it. We'll get some tips from the experts as well. Well, have a good day. In the meantime, news continues on Channel News Asia. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.